Good morning. Welcome to the middle of the week for me. I'm going to be talking baseball, but it's going to be another one of those little side lights to the game. I'm not going to be talking double play combinations or inside pitches, but it's just something which ball players had to face while I was covering Class A short season baseball. And in my novel, I refer to that as Backstop Betty. Um, Backstop Betty are those women who hang out. Um, they're usually there after the games, after all the crowds have gone, and they try and entice the baseball players to get to know them better. Um, it's a fact of life. I, you would see them at the games. You could tell, um, they're going to be waiting by the backstop and waiting for players to come out and see if they can get them to take them out on a date or yeah. Um, it's fact of life. In my novel, um, R.W. Clay's dad used to hang around a minor league baseball team in Bend, Oregon. Wow, there was a surprise since I covered baseball in Bend, Oregon. But what he gives R.W. three pieces of advice, of which one of them is avoid backstop Betty. Um, he obviously saw them hanging around. Um, and the backstop Bettys that I saw in Ben could range from middle aged women to someone who is very young. Um, I won't tell the story in detail. I once was walking with one of the Ben Phillies um, after doing interviews in the clubhouse, which was down the first baseline behind the dugout, and walking back and start going through a gate, which is where the backstop Bettys tended to hang out, and I heard the most sexually explicit message coming from a woman that I had ever heard in a public place. And I turned around and looked because my jaw hit the ground when I heard what was said. And then I turned around and looked at a girl who was maybe 14 years old. Uh, man, uh, shocking. And it was for the player as well. He just shook his head and kept kept walking. Um, but yeah, there are backstop Bettys. Um, they're looking for someone that they could possibly um, make their boyfriends. These guys, even though they're in the lowest level of pro baseball, they could end up making big bucks down the line. Um, it's I like, as I've said before, I like to write strong female characters. Backstop Betty is not a strong female character. I will differentiate here between the backstop Betty, the one just trying to um, make a score, and players who had tried and true girlfriends. There was, yeah, there were those as well around young players. In Bend, you could get players from fresh out of high school, the R.W. Clays, to some who had played at major universities. Two names I'll always remember are Randy Day and Milo Choate. Love Milo Choate. That's a classic name. They were both former University of Texas players. Um, back to the girlfriends. Some um, some players had more girlfriends than others, and they didn't. Backstop Betty wasn't anything that they would put up with. One of my characters in my novel is a very good-looking young man named Dennis Kincaid. I based him very loosely on a pitcher who was with the Bend Phillies back in those days when I covered them. Um, and he was one of those for, for whom finding a true girlfriend was no problem. With Dennis Kincaid, when he is introduced into the story, the speaker simply says, "Oh yeah, that's Dennis Kincaid of some Got Rocks family in northern Florida, and his value is that he's a chick magnet, and that will work out real well for the rest of us." This player in Bend, and I won't give his name, when and the owner of the Bend Phillies told me this story, so I take it as gospel. When the season was ending, the owner would go and get certain players at their apartment houses, homes they rented, etc. And this player, this pitcher, had had a very tearful goodbye with his girlfriend, and she was left sobbing, at the apartment building. And then they go over to Vince Guinness Stadium so that this pitcher can, clean stuff out of his locker. And so they show up at the parking lot. Guess what? Here comes yet another girlfriend, tears in her eyes. Oh, I'm going to miss you so much. We had such a wonderful, wonderful summer. Thank you for everything. So they get then in the car, and the owner, Jack Kane, drives a group of players up to the Portland airport so that they can catch their flights to go back home. And he says they're walking in with these players, and here comes a third woman who comes running up to this pitcher and throws her arms around him and said, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for a wonderful summer. We had such marvelous times." That's life. You're talking at that level of baseball. You're talking 18 to 21-year-old young men. Yeah, and there's sex and impulses are part of it. As I say, my R.W. Clay at one point talks about players going out on a road trip and going to a mall because this was a good place to meet girls. And he says, "Yeah, I know that they disappear for a while, and I have to come to the realization that, hey, this is no church camp." And here is this kid raised in a very religious background who has to watch this go on, and he feels some of the same things. And that's part of the tensions that I weave into this story is young man R.W. Clay, the strong Christian boy, and the feelings of a need for sex, and what does he do? Anyway, that's Backstop Betty's. Tomorrow I'll get more into on the field stuff. I'll tell you another story which I think is every bit as good as the Jose Canseco home run story. We'll talk baseball, and we'll do it through the end of this week and maybe even to the first part of next week. So have a good day. to you writers, write the hell out of it to everyone. Have a good time. It's going to be 74 degrees in Denver today, so we're looking forward to that. It will get to be 80s and then a little rain on Mother's Day. Poor timing weather. Anyway, we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.